Yes, guys, hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. And today, I hope you're doing well, but we have got a more negative episode than usual, but we'll try and keep it fun. We'll try and keep it festive. It is nearly Christmas. It is 9 days away. The darts are on tonight. That's what keeps me going, you know. I love watching the darts. I don't know if you guys do. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong audience here, but I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to do a little bit of therapy today. Call it a therapy session with how bad Tottenham were on Sunday afternoon at the Forest ground. Tottenham Hotspur lost 3-0 away at Nottingham Forest, and it was absolutely abysmal. I'm sure you guys agree. I can see a couple of the comments already, some which I can't even bring on the screen because they're so explicit. But we are joined alongside, as always, Thomas Frank's AI son. Frankie boy, I'll come to you in just a minute, but guys, please do, if you are watching offline, make sure you smash the likes, guys. It was really important. It keeps us going. Hit the like button. It is free to do so. Turn on the notification bell as well and subscribe. All three of those are free to do so, but really appreciate all the support. We were going to be joined by Billy T again. I know you guys enjoy having him on the pod. He will be back during our second live of the week, which should be on Thursday, but keep an eye on our community section. But anyway, enough of the promoting and the little plugging. Frank, how are you doing, mate? How are you feeling after that abysmal display?
Do you know what the saddest bit is? It is kind of nothing is what I feel. And that sounds really sad. And but even at half time and full time, it was that bad again that I don't really feel anything towards it. And sadly, I think I'm kind of at a point with it now where even if we'd won, I'm not sure it would have really made my afternoon. That I feel like I'm in the mood for a rant, I think, this evening at some point. I feel like I want to try and keep it calm. But there's a lot that I've thought in the last couple of days. And I think I've kind of come to a point where I know what I think and what I want now. And it's tough to keep watching.
Absolutely. Guys, let us know as we go along if you are feeling the same, if you don't agree with certain things. And of course, inevitably, as per the title and the thumbnail of the video, we will be talking about Thomas Frank and whether he should still be in a job, whether he is under exceptional pressure. I mean, he is actually the favourite to get sacked in terms of the bookmakers' odds next in the Premier League, which is absolutely no surprise, despite, of course, the club coming out, well, not the club, but journalists coming out and saying that the position of the majority shareholding Lewis family is to stick with Thomas Frank and to give him the time that he needs to succeed. Now, Frank, as in Frank Thomas, for me, mate, I mean, the bit about giving him the time that he needs, how long do you think this guy actually needs? Because for me, this project could take absolutely months, if not years. And we saw it with, of course, Mikel Arteta, and they're only just reaping the rewards, sort of. I mean, of course, they haven't won the Premier League yet, and they are still technically under a lot of pressure from Manchester City. But, you know, with Mikel Arteta, for example, Arsenal fans wanted him gone in the first couple of years, a lot of them. And then suddenly it got going. He built his project. Do you see something similar happening? Because for me, I think even though, and I think you mentioned this last week, so not to repeat you, but Mikel Arteta, sort of, you saw the vision, you saw what they were doing, you saw what they were building, you saw their style of play. For Thomas Frank at the moment, for me, mate, I'm sitting there watching the games, not understanding what we're even trying.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Arteta had a style of play that didn't work when it first came in because he needed the right players, but you could kind of get the idea that he had Mustafi and Pablo Mari, I think, was the centre halves, and they had a weak side. El Neni was in midfield, and it was poor. And that was a side that probably should have finished 8th, 9th, 10th in the Premier League, as they did. And we have a side that anyone on the outside will tell you the players aren't good enough. We have a side of players that I think Tottenham at the moment is too comfortable of a place to be. I think, and I don't want to dig certain people out, but I'm gonna name and shame the likes of Pedro Porro have an unbelievably high ceiling. We see that high ceiling. We know we see that high ceiling. But I see that high ceiling 2 times out of 10 if we're lucky. I then see 6 out of 10 performances, maybe 4 times. And then the other 4 times I see 2 out of 10 performances. And that's too often. You don't see that from big clubs. You don't see that from their players as often as we do. We have players that when they play well, when they're on their day, when they're not injured, when they're not It's always when. We never, ever have a team that is fully there and on form. It's so rare. And Pochettino was brilliant at this because there was no noise around Tottenham. There was never noise around Tottenham in terms of negative press or this, that. Now, it's negative constantly. The manager's going, the players want to go, this want to go, that one. It's all just a mess and it's chaotic. And for a £3.5-4 billion corporation, it's disgracefully run from the top to the management of the team to the players themselves. We're in quite a bad place actually, and that's really sad. And I'm not for any minute suggesting that they should have kept Ange in the summer. I probably would have done until Christmas. I said that at the time, but I think that was also an emotional decision as opposed to maybe a logistical one. But we're in a place now where if you give him time, I think if they kept Thomas Frank for the next 5 years, we'll probably be in a similar place to Arsenal. And I do really believe that. But I'm not sure I'm prepared to sit through this for 5 years in the hope that that happens, because this is dull and this is seriously dire.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot with what you said. I actually don't agree with the part where you said if we stick with him, we'd get to where Arsenal are. I don't think if you stick with Thomas Frank for 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to start to see us finishing second. I don't know if that's what you meant necessarily, or maybe you just meant more about the progression. But for me, I don't think that this guy is the right man for the job. And I actually have defended him quite a lot on this podcast and quite a lot on this channel. You probably back me up, Frank. And for me, I don't know what it was at the weekend. I was just sitting there thinking, I've lost my enjoyment for Tottenham. And I know we've said about this for the last couple of weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, Frank, but I've genuinely lost my love for watching Tottenham. And that is a serious problem. And I think I see a lot of it on Twitter, like with Ange, they talk about, it was exciting to go and watch it as a neutral because you knew it was going to have goals, right? And to an extent, I do agree with that. But actually, you kind of saw what Ange was trying to achieve. And I don't think we should ever go back and hire Ange because a lot of people do. I don't think that's the right decision either. But I agree with you. We should have probably stuck with Ange till December just to give him. I mean, he deserved the respect of more months just for the fact he won the Europa League. I said that at the time on Twitter. I made that very clear. My opinion's very clear on that. But to go with Thomas Frank, you have to then get on board with his project. And for me, I don't think these players are on board with his project. I don't think this fan base is on board with his project. And I think this board is pretending they're on board if that is the case and this statement here is actually true. But for me, if you're going to stick with a manager and give him time and give him a transfer window, you've got to be 100% certain he's the right man for the job. And also, if you're going to invest and buy the players that he wants to buy in January, you've got to be exceptionally clear that he is the right man to take you forward, at least until the summer, if not for future seasons. And that's why I said a few weeks ago, if you remember, Frank, that actually this window now is probably the time that he would be sacked if he is sacked, because you've got to get a new manager in before this new transfer window if things are going to actually come into fruition. There's no point giving Thomas Frank £150 million to spend in January and then sacking him in February. That would be absolutely classic Tottenham. And do you know what? I could see it happening because unfortunately we've made silly decisions similar to that in the past. So my main concern is that, if they want to get rid of him, just get rid of him now. I just don't get it. But anyway, we both had a mini rant there. Let's just catch our breath for 1 second. David Clark, hi from Leicester. Hope you are ready for the truth. For Spurs fans to get their heads out of their arses and realize that just look at the numerous coaches we've employed and nothing changes because of the 60% of this squad are tripe. Don't tell me we don't attack. Our forward players get into dangerous positions to score goals, but we have individuals who are totally incapable to the basic football skills. They can't pass it 6 yards. Just before I go on to the next comment, David, I do firstly, mate, hope you're all good. Nice to see you. I mean, to an extent, I do agree with this, but Frank, would you say that 60% of this squad is not good enough? Because for me, I think there's individuals in this squad that aren't good enough and then maybe we rate too highly. But I don't think it's 60%. And I'm not trying to, have a debate with David. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to say, I think this manager isn't getting enough out of the players that he has. However, I think we need to take a reality check. And we've said this before on previous podcasts, that actually I don't think this squad is that good. Where do you think, with an adequate manager and the correct tactics and the correct way of playing our games, Frank, do you think this squad should be finishing at this current moment?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I guess it's what it comes down to is what they're good enough for. Are they good enough to win the title? They're not. There's a squad that's not. Are they good enough to finish in the top four? Probably not. Are they good enough to finish 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th? They probably should be, I think, with the competition around them and the caliber of players. I think they have elite players? No, I don't. I think that, as I say, too many of the players are comfortable. Pedro Porro is one I use very easily in that he has a high ceiling, but how often do we see it? Pape Sarr is another one. We all sit there and go, Pape Sarr is fantastic. Is Pape Sarr that good? If Pape Sarr was that great, or if Pedro Porro was that great, City would have kept him. Right? Yeah. There's a reason these guys play for Tottenham. And then that's not because the best players really that come to London go to Chelsea or Arsenal. And we get the next lot. And that's the sad truth. And so there's a reason these guys play for Tottenham, because they're not consistently good enough, or they have another issue or something that stops them but prevents them from being elite. And so it's rare that we get real top level players. And so, but I think the squad's certainly got enough quality in it to create more than they do, to not concede as sort of as many chances as they are, and to generally just have a bit of fight in them. That what I watched on Sunday, whether the players whatever, was not a side that was playing for a manager that they loved. And I'm not saying last year at any point really was it, bar maybe the final and a couple of the European games. But that wasn't a side that was really behind a manager. That was a side that actually had no clue what they were supposed to be doing. And I think some of the treatment from the manager and some of the players, Intel and Bergvall especially, I think has been pretty poor. I don't get the favouritism of some of the players that he continues to pick. I mean, Richarlison played 90 minutes the other day. The guy had 7 touches. I mean, why is he still on the pitch? Give Matthew Tell a chance.
Yeah, we're talking about the decisions in game in a minute, because I don't know if we've got a slide on this, but we definitely should be talking about the decisions made in that game against Forest and why he put on two midfielders and 1 defender, including a defensive midfielder, over the attacking players is absolutely nuts. And then to put the attacking players on when they're queuing to come on at 2-0 down, and then they bring him on at 3-0 down, is just absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, that is inexcusable for me. That kind of decision not to put an attacking change on at 2-0, but then put it on at 3-0 is crazy. And I know they were standing on the side of the pitch and the goal went in and then they came on, but I don't want to hear it. Like, that should be the first decision, is to bring on the attacking players. I'd bring on attacking players when I'm 1-0 down, mate. Let alone 2-0, let alone 3-0. Why are we waiting till this 80th minute to put on Brennan Johnson and whoever else it was, Tell? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous decision. That is a sackable offence in its own, Frank. I'm sorry. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Agreed. It had that sort of feel of when Nuno Lucas Moura. And it had that. It was... I'm someone that favours attacking football and whatever. And if it was me, and I would bring on attacking players whether I'm winning or losing, because I think if you're winning, you stop the other team from pushing you back, and so you it's like if that's why I quite liked when Ange did it when certainly in the Chelsea game or whatever. If you lose a player being sent off, push the other team back. Don't let yourself sit in. Push them back. Make them panic. Make them leave more players back. And when you're 2-0 down or 3-0 down, bringing on João Paulinho and Ben Davies, and I saw a really good tweet about it where someone sort of laughed about it and said that Ben Davies is a decent servant. The guy's a decent player. The guy's a good fella, whatever. But do I value his game-changing ability? No, I don't. No, I don't. No one would. If we're 1-0 up and you bring him on as part of the back 5 for a last minute, fine. Go ahead, do that. But the management from a guy who I thought tactically astute is pretty poor. It is pretty poor.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I completely agree. We've got definitely Manny. I can see the numbers are growing, guys. Appreciate all the support. Definitely Mane or Main. Could be Mane, could be Main. I don't see why we sacked Ange in the summer to bring in Frank. We could have easily kept Ange and brought Frank in if it was poor after 10 games. Yeah, this is it. Like, I think Ange should have got till December. If people think I'm a hypocrite, go and check out my Twitter. I literally said Ange deserved to have at least till November, December to see if he could pick it up in the league. That's where we know his weakness was in terms of the league games. We finished 17th last season. I mean, it's the joke, isn't it? 17th, and I don't know how we won it in Bilbao. But David's saying too many touches when the crosses are there, pass the ball back when lined up against one-on-one, mate. Yeah, there's some problems tactically. There's some problems with the quality as well. Richard James, 1, 2, 3. Every time I read 1-2-3 in a Tottenham environment, I always think of that Lamella commentary from Martin Tyler. Lamella, 1-2-3. It was a brilliant moment. I have to reminisce like stuff from like 2017 to 2019. Well, maybe even before that, 2015 to 2019, other than the Champions League final, of course. Just to stay positive about this club. But no, with jokes aside, look, we had our best moment ever in May, didn't we? It's been a real, fall off a cliff in the last 7 months. Richard James, the player quality argument is hard to hear when we're seeing so many abject performances. Fight isn't a quality issue. What do you make of that, Frank? I see you nodding your head there.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I don't think that a lot of our players are of high enough quality for certain things, and I'm not going to sit here and suggest they are. I think we have enough quality to put out performances better than we are, certainly, and I think we have enough quality to be in the top 8 in the Premier League. That I don't doubt for a second. But when we're talking just some of the actual fight, to some of the decision making, some of the fight, that's not a team that's behind the manager. To me personally, I don't think. I don't think that's a team because the way I look at it is, like Kudus and some of these guys. Kudus constantly turning backwards. When I see him get going, when he runs at you, the guy's unstoppable. The guy's unbelievable, but he constantly turned backwards. So is he not listening? And this goes to a lot of players, by the way, because they do certain things. That are they not listening to the manager, or is the manager not telling them? Now, the fact that they're all making mistakes like this suggests to me that the latter, the manager's not telling them. And that's concerning. That I don't think his point's coming across. And the simple fact is we're 6 months into this project, and we're still having 0.3 expected goals, and we're conceding 3. And really, well and truly, Forest could have had 5, 6, maybe more. They had chances. We really, in the first 4 minutes, they hit the post. Vicario saved one. Gibbs White, I think, had 2 chances a little bit later on. They had chances, Forest, and they scored 3. We made a Sean Dyche team look like Brazil 1970, and that's concerning.
Yeah, when they were knocking it around at the end as well with the Olays as well. They kept it for about 5 minutes. It was absolutely stupid. When the Spurs fans think that Gray is the next Beckenbauer and Bergvall is the next Gascoigne, is where our club is where it is. Fans thinking some of these players are good enough, obviously not seeing the greats. The only thing I would say about that, David, is I genuinely have really high hopes for Lucas Bergvall. Not necessarily Archie Gray. I'm gonna be honest. I do think he's a decent player, and I know Frank, you probably rate him more than me, but I think Lucas Bergvall is the one that's going to be, I think, going to the very top. Could be eating my words and watching this back in 5-6 years, and he ends up, like Tom Carroll. Who knows? But I think Lucas Bergvall is the one for me that's going to be very, very good. But I do think there's a lot of these players in this club that are pretty mediocre, mate, and that isn't to be helped necessarily by the manager. But I think Richard James's comment here about the fight is a really good point. Sacking him in the summer should have been for a proven winner who can take these young trophy winners to the next level, says definitely Mane. Yes, look at Anjan and Forest. Robin Hood couldn't even help this guy. And so you're telling me players are robots and carry out all the coach's instructions. That is rubbish, because if it was true, that makes these players even worse. I think there's a bit of both, isn't there? There's an effort level, there's a quality level, and at the moment, we're not even seeing how we currently are playing football and how, what our style is. Frank, go on.
I think ultimately as well, we're talking about a guy who's paid £8 million a year to coach these guys to improve. And the simple fact is, since he's come in, they have, from the very sort of first few games of the season where we looked like we were quite good, City, PSG, West Ham, whatever, we've regressed. We have regressed since then. The only player I'd argue that's got a bit better is Mickey van der Ven. That is it. That is literally it. We have regressed. And so, whilst they're not going to carry out every instruction, I understand that. And you need to have a bit of freedom in the way you play and whatever. That's fine. And I think he's got a balance in that, which is fine. He gives them that freedom, but they are supposed to be structured. There is no structure. There is no patterns of play. I watched Arsenal the other night against Wolves. They weren't very good, right? It was a poor game, and I'm not going to.
They got away with that big time.
They really did, right? But you see, Saka gets the ball, and every time he gets it, Ben White goes round the outside of him and then inside. He drags the defender, then runs inside. Saka finds him. And the amount of chances they create by doing that, because it's a pattern of play. We are devoid of any patterns of play. The only thing we have is Porro smashing it down the line in hopes someone finds it. And that is it. That is literally all we have. Or set pieces. We are devoid of structure. We are devoid of patterns of play. We're devoid of any fluidity. And that is on the manager. I'm not suggesting that Pedro Porro's inability to cross a ball, because again, his crossing numbers this week, I spoke about them last week, were diabolical. Kudus' crossing, diabolical. Xavi Simons' passing was abhorrent. And I'm not suggesting that any of that is the manager's fault, because the players are at fault for that as well. But when you are not creating anything, when every player is regressing, bar one probably, in what we think they can be, they're all actually getting worse, that's on the manager, because you're paid the money to come in and progress these guys, and every one of them's getting worse. And that's my fear.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, mate. I agree. It's like you said, Van der Ven, it's technically being the only one that's improved. I'll tell you what, we'll do a little engagement piece for the few watching. Guys, in the chat now, number one in the chat, if you think that some players have improved under Thomas Frank, and if you put a one, put the players that you think have improved, and put a two if you think these players have actually got worse or haven't improved at all. Put that in the chat now. Let's get your thoughts on that. Sonny saying, I send my mobile number for a detail to arrange or email. Sonny, no idea what you're talking about, mate. But if you want to apply for the Tottenham Hotspur job, my honest thought is to apply directly to the club, to the human resources team, because they'll probably be recruiting very, very soon, won't they, Frank? James is saying tactical problem against Forest was pushing Spence up. Hutchinson didn't drop. They kept Hudson-Odoi, and Hudson-Odoi was really good. Let's be honest, mate. He was good. And Igor Hayat, Morgan Gibbs White linking, gave us a tactical problem with back four and Moani out of position. And James is saying 0 to that. What do you make of the comment there from James? I'll put it back on screen, mate.
Yeah, the bit I like is the sort of, it's well written. But the bit that I kind of want to pick up on is the Moani bit at the end. This is kind of where I'm losing my patience, or I've lost my patience. I should probably make relatively clear that I want him to go now. I said a couple of weeks ago, I was probably 60-40, 70-30 maybe. I want him to go now. I'm bored, I'm fed up, and I'm not sure this is working. And I have a difficulty in giving him the benefit of the doubt when I think he makes silly decisions. In that we are, Richarlison scored some goals, fine, but the guy had 7 touches the other day. Bring him off. But bring him off. Moani looks pretty good every time he plays up front. He's playing him on the left. I don't get that. The reluctance to play Bergvall ever. The bringing off Jed Spence, who I actually thought was one of our better players for the 60 odd minutes he was on the pitch. Bringing him off. I don't mind bringing on Davis as a left footer maybe, but bring off Porro. Porro was diabolical and has been probably all season. You know, so something's not right. I mean, Bentancur, I mean, he was dreadful, and that's something that I might try and get up in a minute. The second goal, the Hudson-Odoi sort of cross that goes in, it's poor from Vicario. It's really poor. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not. But Bentancur, my word, it's the easiest I've ever seen a player get sent in my life, and he just stands there and he backs off. He backs off and he lets Hudson-Odoi put it into the box. And I pulled that up against Brentford, Brighton. I pulled that up against Villa, and I've now pulled that up now. It's the same thing. Tell him. Someone's not telling him. And whilst these guys should be clever enough to realise that, you're paid to have £8 million a year to coach these guys and make sure these mistakes don't continuously happen. And they are continuously happening. And I'm losing patience, or I've lost patience, because he's making silly decisions that, for me, aren't helping his case. You know, as I say, and I don't want to keep going at Richarlison, but when a guy's had 7 touches in a game after 70 minutes, he's obviously not having an impact you want him to have. So bring on Matthews Tell, or play Moani out there, or switch something up, do something. Maybe play Simmons there and drop him a little bit deeper and have runners going past him. I don't know. Do something a little bit.
You've got to change something, though, haven't you?
Something's got to change, because you're practically playing with 10 at that point. You know, and that goes for anyone that's having that little amount of touches, by the way. It's not just Richarlison, but you're practically playing with 10. It's pointless. So switch something up, give someone the chance, give someone a run around that's going to go, I'm going to try and make a difference because I want to be starting in this team. And so there's concerns for me. I mean, there's major concerns for me. I put out a tweet at halftime the other day, and I said, I am done with this. I think he's a good bloke. I think he's a good coach, probably. I think he's someone that needs a lot of time in a club that's stable and probably at the lower level below. a Brentford, a West Ham, whatever. That's still maybe West Ham the most stable, but that maybe Palace maybe. I think that works. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's at the level for this personally. Maybe now or maybe ever. I'm not sure this project is working, and so I'm kind of done with it now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was my next question. James has put a comment in here saying, in my opinion, the small pitch we needed width and natural wingers, Sakudu's left wing and Brennan Johnson or Odebert right wing. Guys, for the few watching on YouTube now, question is in the chat: Thomas Frank out, or are you still Thomas Frank in? And we should have more patience. If you want Thomas Frank out now, put a number 1 in the live chat. And I've actually started uploading these podcasts again onto Spotify, Apple Pods, or wherever you find your podcast, guys. So if you do want to, listen to this on the way to work, or perhaps on the way, I don't know, to whatever you do, maybe it's uni or whatever. I have been putting these on Spotify and Apple Pods again. Just search the Spurs-related podcast to find them as well. So I appreciate you all going to check the audio versions out, and of course, give us a little 5-star rating. That does help us get found more easily. Before I get everyone's thoughts on the current situation of the manager, I'm just going to do a couple more comments. Name me the players who are good enough outside of Romero, Van der Ven, Mawani and Kudus and Paulinho, says David. The rest don't deserve to wear a Spurs shirt unless you are happy to finish mid-table every year. Binny, guys, big up, mate. He's saying, bottom line is you reap what you sow. Can you actually claim you've done everything you can to build the strongest squad? No, Enoch should be ashamed of themselves. So Binny guy essentially there, perhaps thinking that Thomas Frank deserves more time based on the ownership. And Richard James is saying Frank is learning on the job how to manage at this level, but we don't have time. And he's Thomas Frank out. Frank, I know you are as well. Interesting to see what other people think. I think the vast majority have had enough as well, mate. I think they're in your boat, and I've seen a lot of since this Van der Ven interview today, which I don't know if you guys have seen. He did an interview on the Overlap with Gary Neville, and a lot of his comments were very pro-Ange, weren't they? It's got a lot of the Ange sort of fans on Twitter sort of saying, why did we get rid of this guy? You know, he sounds like he was brilliant in the dressing room, motivated the players. And it does ask that question as to why they didn't give Ange a bit more time. But I guess I'm more of a realist as to we are where we're at, whether that was the right or wrong decision. But going forward, I think we need some serious change. And I think if they can get a better manager in before January, I don't think it would be a bad decision, just because I don't personally understand the outlook and the direction. I don't think I'm fully Thomas Frank out. A lot of people have asked me. I don't think I'm fully Thomas Frank out yet, just for the pure fact that I'd say, and I do understand that, you know, all managers do need time. And I think in this day and age, like you look at Ange, he was getting absolutely savaged, wasn't he? And he probably deserved a bit more time. But then you could argue Forest have turned it around, and look, they absolutely battered us the other day. So, I mean, there's right and wrong decisions, and we know that managers don't get a lot of time in this day and age. I think the longest serving manager in the Premier League is Arteta, isn't it now, Frank? Oh no, Guardiola.
Yeah.
Guardiola. So, you know, that's not that long. Whereas you look back at where it used to be, Wenger, Ferguson, of course, they're absolute legends, but other managers would get a lot more time. Look at David Moyes at Everton, for example, back in the day. So it is an interesting debate. Why I'm not completely Thomas Frank out yet is because I actually wouldn't mind seeing him get a transfer window. But then if you do that, you have to stick with him for the rest of the season. And do I think the results are going to pick up enough? Not necessarily. I need something to grab onto. And I mean, what are we now, Frank? 15 games in, and I'm just not seeing any progression at the moment, which is why I'm finding it difficult to stay Frank in.
I think that's the thing. I mean, there's nothing to cling on to. I mean, ultimately, I'm not sure, even in January, if we sign players that he wants or if they're players that the club wants. Ultimately, I don't know how that's done. I think they're probably club signings that he approves of, which means. But I also think that at the moment there's a bit of an identity crisis. They've got Poro and Udogie are wing backs. They are. I know Udogie's not fit at the moment again, but they are wing backs. They are players that are suited to bombing in a back five because they were both bought under Antonio Conte. You've got players that are suited to being more defensive players. You've got Paulinho. You've got Danso is one who's not a ball playing centre half. So I'm slightly confused I don't think they know what they're doing in terms of up at the top. They've gone from Conte, who was so defensive. They've gone to Ange, who was completely gun-ho. And now they've come back down again. You need to stay on a path, and they're not staying on a path. And that's kind of concerning me, because that's what I said at the time, that when Levy went, I don't think nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. And we will hear these rumours all throughout January that, they're going to spend big. And my hunch is we'll sign Savinho. I think City will sign Semenyo, and I think we'll take Savinho. We'll sign Semenyo, and I think we'll take Savinho. It is my guess. That's what I probably think will happen, because of how much they apparently wanted him in the summer. And I think they know they probably have to spend big. But I think what else is keeping Frank in a job currently is that you don't have an alternative, or an obvious alternative. When Nuno went, Conte was there. They wanted Conte in the summer. They didn't get him. They got Nuno. They obviously wanted Conte. They knew that they could get him at that point. And so you don't have that now. I think if Real Madrid were to sack Xabi Alonso in the next week, do I think you could get him? Probably not. Do I think he's probably waiting for Liverpool? Probably so. But if you think you can, and you have a conversation with him and you think it's positive, then you have to, because that's too good of an opportunity. Because other than that, Xavi's out there, as in Barcelona, Xavi Hernandez. I would like. But the rest of them are all in jobs. Pochettino would probably be my number one, but you ain't getting him till after the World Cup. There's one or two in Germany, one or two in Italy, in Italiano and Sebastian Hones, who I like. But you might not get them now, but it's halfway through a season. And so...
Or it's back to risking another current Premier League manager, right? In Iraola or what's his name at Palace?
Glasner. I think, to be honest, I think Glasner would be one I'd still be open to. Iraola worries me now because they've fallen off a cliff a bit. And while I think he's a good coach, it's the same as Frank. Glasner, I'd be less concerned about, because he's coached in the Champions League. He's coached in the Europa League. He won the Europa League with Frankfurt. And so he understands the management of squads in Europe. And I think Glasner, I'm a big fan of Glasner. I wanted Glasner in the summer. In fact, I remember saying, there's a tweet out there where I said that he was my number one for a long period of time, that I really wanted Oliver Glasner. I think Glasner, and because he has that experience of being able to coach in Europe as well and manage that makes me feel better. But as I say, that you aren't going to get a Premier League manager mid-season, because it's kind of the unwritten rule that you don't really. It never really happens. And so you can't just write off a season at the end of the day also. They're a multi-billion-pound corporation. You cannot just write off a season and go, it is what it is. We'll come back in the summer and go and take Podge. So ultimately, they need to work something out, and they need to have a plan and stick with it. If that plan is Thomas Frank, then stick with it and shut me up and shut anyone else up that wants him gone, and prove me wrong, because I want to be proved wrong.
Exactly. That's it.
It's not that I don't want him to. I want him to succeed. I just don't think it is. I don't think he's going to succeed, and I don't think it is working. And so for that reason, I want him gone. But there's no reason that they can't stick by him and it works and it goes on. But you can't just sack him and dilly-dally for a while, and then kind of take someone for a couple of months, or give it to Xavi because he's there, as in Xavi Hernandez, because you kind of think you should, and you don't really want him. My hunch is they want Pochettino. It would be my guess, because I think it's easy to bridge the gap between the fans and the ownership now if they do it in the summer. It'll be very easy, because straight away the fans are happy again, and it stops them from being miserable. And so I think that's the kind of where I think they want to be if this isn't working. But you've got 6 months. You cannot just write that off.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, you went on a bit of a rant, and then you went for that reason, and I thought you were going to say I'm out, like Duncan Bannatyne or Theo Petitis on Dragon's Den. David Clark saying the squad is as it should be, playing two up front with Kudus and Moani, with Simmons in behind, and sort the rest out as you please. Ad Elmore, big up Ad, always in here. Really appreciate it over on Facebook. Patience, in my opinion, non-existent with most Spurs fans. I'm not sure what this is, but it says OBJ, so I'm not sure what that emoji is. Could be anything. James DX saying, if I was being kind, I think Frank is trying to please people please. Trying to please people when he should be sticking to his principles. For example, why drop the Bentancur pivot, Pantapalinia pivot away? That's been working so well for us. Josh Pav, big up Josh. I think if that's the right Josh I'm thinking of, you probably still hold the trophy for the biggest and best rant on this channel to date. If you guys have never seen that, I'm going to have to bring it up at some point. He literally comes in the Conte era. I think we just lost to Middlesbrough in the cup, and we used to do fan phone-in shows. Maybe we should go back to doing it. But he literally came in and like said all the explicits under the sun, and I thought my channel's in the mud, but it was the funniest thing. It was the funniest thing. But Josh, if that is you, I think it is. I can't really see from your...
He said it is, yeah.
Yeah. Big up, mate. Hope you're well. He says Frank is out of his depth. Didn't want him to start off with. Even more so now. Doesn't have that winning mentality about him. Get him out now, says Josh. Big up, mate. Hope you're well. Rodney Martin saying we need to spend big in January. COYS. David Clark is saying Spurs CEO's statement regarding transfers tells me nothing has changed. So it doesn't matter which coach is. Spurs board couldn't even choose one sporting director. They chose two. It's hilarious, says David Clark. Crystal Palace coach will be the next Liverpool coach. James is saying, for me, Frank failing to land Morgan Gibbs White and maybe Eze in the summer was an issue. Agree. We need top players, but can we attract those players? Let's see on 31st of January. Henry's in here. Big up, mate. Hope you're well. As we know, that is the Queen. God rest her soul. Henry saying Frank needs to be given time to sort this team out unless we will be back in the same cycle. Good point, Henry. Interesting. It's just so hard to know where to lie. Like I said, I'm still, if I'm on a fence, I'm definitely more towards Frank out. But he hasn't got long, has he? If he needs to sort it out. I have some worrying news. The new CEO says he wants to give Frank time like he did with Arteta. Yes, Darren, we did bring that up earlier, and we've got a couple more slides to get through. I've just realised the time. We are a bit behind schedule, but I really appreciate all the comments. It looks like we have to put up with him for the next 3 years. And Ad saying no manager in the world is going to change anything with this squad we have. But then poses the question, Ad, do we give Thomas Frank the facilities he wants? Do we give him the players he wants? Will the board give him the players he wants? There's all sorts of questions to ask. And Josh is saying Frank couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery. Tin pot manager doesn't have that edge about him. And I love piss up in a brewery. That's such a good saying. And just got in. Hi, boys. Big up, Drew Badenoch, PT. How you doing? Well, mate. I don't know where you're playing football in that picture, but it looks like there could be a sellout stadium or it could be your local rec. But either way, absolutely love it. Always analysing the profile pictures. But guys, I am going to bring up a couple more slides, please. Great support as well. Please make sure you hit that like button. It is free to do so. I think there's 6 likes on this video. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing? Hit the like button. It is free. Turn on the notification bell as well if you're on mobile. I think you can do the notification bell on the laptop as well. And subscribe to the channel if you are new. That would be most appreciated. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as I said, you can listen to this on the way into work or uni or school or whatever. We are putting these back on Apple and Spotify podcasts. But Frank, a few more minutes to go. You were talking about our XG earlier and how dreadful we were. Let's just very quickly actually look at the stats from the game. 2.32 XG for Forest. As you said, it could have been 6-0. We had 0.33 XG. Are you surprised we had more of the ball considering how bad we were with it?
Not really. I think we are ponderous and timid and slow, pathetic, every sort of word under that bracket. With it, we have a lot of it, but we're not much more of it, but we have enough of it to do things with it. And I mean that is ultimately, that's harrowing looking at that photo. Really, like I'm struggling to sort of, as you say, you tried to touch on earlier on. I'm struggling to cling on to anything at the moment to be like, yeah, I'm believing in that, because genuinely, and this is the worrying bit, the only thing that I have to cling on to with him is what Arsenal did with Arteta. It's not even something he's doing himself. It's something that Arsenal did with Arteta. And that's the concerning bit for me, that I'm sat there wanting what they have, and that's all I have to be positive about. And and I think a lot of us are in that sort of position, and that's quite concerning. He's shown me nothing, as Potter did at Chelsea, to suggest that he should be given time. I will give him time if the board are going to give him time. I'm a Tottenham fan. I want Tottenham to win. I want him to win. I want him to do well. But if it was down to me right now, I wouldn't have him there anymore.
Sure, I have in mind in a minute, Frank, because I'm going to ask you who you'd get instead, because I know we've just discussed a few options, but I do want to know who you'd get instead, because it is obviously one thing saying you want him gone and the next thing actually knowing who to replace him with. Did we watch the overlap? I did watch parts of it. I did see the key sort of messages, and it is interesting how, interesting it is that Van der Ven was talking very highly of Ange and everything else. Stay strong, lad, says Darren. We floated like a butterfly and stung like a butterfly. Thomas Frank reminds me of a drama teacher taking over a PE class. It is a bit like that. It is a bit like that. And Josh has lost his patience. But going back to these stats, as we love a stat, outperforming our XG by 10 goals and still sitting in 11th is crazy work. Only Tottenham 9.7 and Aston Villa 7.9 have outperformed their XG total by more than Manchester City 7.1 this season in the Premier League. Struggling to actually understand the picture in that, but in short, we're outperforming our XG, and that is saying something, isn't it? Really, Frank, that we're just not creating chances, and when we do score, it's almost sometimes out of nothing. A good example being that Richarlison halfway line goal, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. The Kudus one he got at against Fulham, smashed in from kind of nowhere. The 2 goals at Leeds are both deflections. I mean, literally, you can keep going and look through. Unless they're from a set piece, if they're from open play, they're probably of low quality or low potential. Should I say the quality is probably quite high on them. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a worrying stat, I have to be honest. Yeah, the Romero overhead kick, the Romero diving header. I mean, there's so many goals who scored this. The Richarlison bicycle kick. I mean, you can literally keep going with most of the goals we score. Sorry, Josh's comment has caught my eye, and I'm going to have to bring that up because it's fantastic.
He's your best friend now.
Yeah, I think he is. It's nice to hear someone else say it, because the fact he got 90 minutes the other day and he had 7 touches was ludicrous. Yeah. That was stackable enough.
Yeah. Oh, Romero over kick. Good point. Yeah. We're bringing in players in and making them play their secondary roles instead of their main roles as well. Yeah. Good point. Guys, okay. Question for the chat, and guys, while we're sort of wrapping things up, I can see there's a few watching on YouTube. Make sure, I know I've already plugged it twice, but it's really important you smash the like button, turn on the notification bell as well if you are new, and subscribe if you are new, guys. Really appreciate that. But before you all leave, because we're not done just yet, if you do want Thomas Frank to go, please let me know what manager you would like instead. And I'm going to ask that question to Frank in a minute. I'm going to give him 2 more minutes to think about it, because maybe his answer will change. But this is Anthony on X. He's saying, because I'm still pissed off, here's every team we've beaten this season in current position. Burnley 19th, Man City 2nd, which is a bit of an outlier in this, Villarreal 35th in the Champions League, West Ham 18th in the league, Doncaster 20th in League One, Leeds 17th in the Premier League, Everton 9th. That was a good result. I mean, you were there yourself, Frank, for that one. Copenhagen 24th in the Champions League, Slavia Prague 33rd in the Champions League, and Brentford 14th in the Champions League. In the Premier League. Brentford wish they're in the Champions League. So, I mean, guess the point here is, Frank, that above than Man City and Everton, all those results should be happening anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, West Ham, I'll give him, because it's a place we don't usually go and win. And I know they've been really poor, but I will give him West Ham because it's the sort of game that we do usually crumble in. Other than that, I would be absolutely devastated if we didn't win the rest of them. So, yeah, I mean, it's ultimately poor. Really, it's concerning. I mean, I know we got a couple of draws in there in Newcastle and whatever, and that was a good result. But ultimately, it's a very low quality.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our friends Ryan's in here saying that we should get Ryan Mason back. Obviously thinks he's a troll today, but no. Guys, let me know who you would have as your managerial replacement. But yeah, I agree. The West Ham game was a decent result, and that was a part of the season where I was thinking, actually, I can see the Thomas Frank vision. You know, we went away at Man City, we won. We went away at West Ham, we won. This is August, sort of September time, wasn't it? And kind of just gone downhill since then. Even when we won against Villarreal in the Champions League, I think that was about September. We then were not too convinced, but we'd won, and then we started to see the cracks unfold, and it's just crack after crack. It's become an absolute disaster, really, hasn't it? It's become a disaster. But Frank, I'm going to ask you that final question, which is if we do get in the manager, because we could go through this. I mean, I know you put in a slide about stats. I mean, just very quickly, Frank. I mean, 7.4 for Xavi Simons. I don't know what foot mob are watching, but Xavi Simons wasn't more than a 5 for me. He was not good. Vicario shouldn't even be an orange. It should be a red. I think I gave Vicario a 3 out of 10 on my or a 2 out of 10 on my Analysis. I mean, I don't even want to see these ratings. To be honest, it's a pointless conversation because I think so many of them are off. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the Xavi Simons one's diabolical. I mean, that was the worst I've seen him.
Yeah, it's shocking. I guess maybe trying to be more positive very quickly. Who would you say was the standout performer for Spurs? Because it's so hard. It's so hard. Like there wasn't really anyone, was there?
I thought Jed played quite well until he came off, and I thought at least Moani gave it a bit of a go at times and ran around a bit. But other than that, I mean, yeah, it was awful. There was very hard to take one.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, final question. As I said in the earlier, who would you pick as your manager to replace Thomas Frank if he was to get sacked tomorrow?
If he gets sacked, Pochettino's the one I want, but you ain't getting him until July. So
right,
give it Ange or Harry Redknapp to the end of the season.
Ange, go back to Ange.
No, I wouldn't. I'd if you're picking someone now that you could get now, it would Xavi Hernandez. I'd take Xabi Alonso if you could get him. I'd love him. And I think it'd be too good of an opportunity. Sebastian Hoeneß, Italiano, Oliver Glasner. But again, you ain't getting Glasner to the end of the season. Sure. Maybe the guy Bodo Glimt. I like him as well. Knutson, he's pretty good.
Knutson.
So there's
I don't know much about him.
I think he nearly went to Brighton before Hurtsler. Right. I mean, Hurtsler's one I quite like, to be honest. He's young and quite exciting. There's coaches out there, but Poch is the one.
Sure. Poch is the one. Is the Poch the one for you guys? Anyway, guys, that is enough for today. As I said earlier, we are on Spotify. But before you all click off the video, please do me 3 massive favors. That is to hit the like button, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. It takes 5 seconds, and they're all free to do so. You can, of course, as well, find us on Spotify and Apple Pods if you want to watch the audio, listen to the audio version, and leave us a 5-star rating over there. Really appreciate all the comments today. Really great stream. Thanks, everyone, for your comments. Thanks, Frank, as well, for his time. And as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs. Come on.